Today is Monday, December 4. I'm Pastor Michael, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Our text comes from Luke 1. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. With this in mind, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, I too decided to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. Luke 1, verses 1 through 4. It is Advent, the season when we Christians look back at Jesus' first coming to increase our longing for his return. Here at Wilderness Wanderings, we have chosen to spend this season on Luke's account of Jesus' birth. If you want to read ahead, we will finish just prior to his circumcision. So today we get to enjoy Luke's introduction. At first glance, you may not have found these words worthy of a devotional. Let me attempt to change your mind. Even though we have only circumstantial evidence, and not much of that, let us assume that Luke wrote this gospel. Like him, I've done my research. This introduction mimics those written by people who had a track record of offering reliable information. Luke had taken the time to read manuscripts already written about Jesus, and to listen to and interview those who had spent significant time with him. It was time for such an account because many of the eyewitnesses were dying. The events of Jesus' ministry were receding into history. Also, Jerusalem had been destroyed by the Romans. With its destruction, the Jewish nation was no more. Further, despite Judaism's demise, persecution against Christians, and Jesus not returning as expected, the church was flourishing. Having begun as a Jewish sect, she was now comprised increasingly of Gentiles. All of this needed an explanation, a story. There were questions that needed answering, and Luke meant to provide them. He writes to Theophilus. Again, we do not know who this is. The name means friend of God. Common consensus is that he was not a Jew. He was of Gentile birth, but he was a God-fearer. Think of Simon who carried Jesus' cross, and the Ethiopian whom Philip baptized. So we have a convert to Judaism who became a follower of Jesus. Then he saw Israel destroyed. Jesus had said he was coming back, but he wasn't back. Theophilus has a right to be a bit confused and concerned that he has been hoodwinked. But if it is all true, then how is he to live in this mess? To reassure folks asking such questions, Luke writes, just as a horror film will have eerie music in the background to identify the nature of the scene. So this preface tells us what kind of story we are reading, an authentic portrait of Jesus. Luke constructs a grand doorway into his gospel. He invites us to come in and make ourselves at home. Here we will find security, a solid basis for lasting faith. This is our Jesus. This is our story, and it is not over yet. And in answer to the question, how should we live in this story? How does being part of this story shape our lives? Luke answers, with joy. The angels that appear in the story tell us that Jesus came to bring joy, and Mary sings, my spirit rejoices. So, we invite you to make yourself at home in Luke 1, verses 1 to 2, verse 20, so that our hearts may be rekindled with the joy of the Lord. Go now with God's blessing. Though you walk in darkness, may you see the great light. Though you live in a land of deep shadows, may you see light, sunbursts of light. May God increase your life, expand your joy. May you be glad in his presence. May God give you the joy of a great celebration, sharing rich gifts and warm greetings.